Hi, you're watching Reddit Confessions. Today's story doesn't begin with a wedding, or a first kiss, or even a fight. It begins with a vase, a cheap, ugly one, shattering against the wall. The sound it made wasn't dramatic. It didn't echo or ring out like in movies. It was dull, final, like the universe itself sighed and said, "That's enough." She didn't even blink. She just stood there, arms crossed, staring at me like I was a fly she accidentally let into the house. The kind you don't kill right away, just swat at when it buzzes too close. And me? I was holding a single sock. That's how ridiculous it was. I had walked into the living room holding her sock, thinking I'd ask if she wanted it washed. That's the kind of guy I am, or was. And that's when she snapped. Said I was suffocating her. Said I was pathetic. Said she couldn't take this anymore. I asked what this meant. She laughed. "Your face," she said. "The way you look at me. Like I'm your whole world." I felt my ears ring. My mouth went dry. I think I smiled. Nervous habit. "Isn't that what love looks like?" I asked. And that's when she picked up the vase, the one her mom gave us, and threw it across the room. Not at me. Not near me. Just away. Like she wanted to break something because she couldn't say the thing she really wanted to. So I said it for her. "There's someone else, isn't there?" She didn't answer. Didn't need to. The silence wrapped around us like plastic. Suffocating. Thin. Impossible to rip through. I stood there, still holding that sock, while she stared out the window like she was already somewhere else. With him. That night we still slept in the same bed. Back to back. No words. No sheets between us. Just a wall of betrayal neither of us acknowledged. But the next evening, that's when it really happened. That's when she gave me the choice. When she looked at me in front of friends, in front of people who once toasted our anniversary, and said, "You can stay and listen to what I have to say, or you can walk away." Just like that. Like it was a coin toss. Like I hadn't given her everything. I didn't cry. Not then. I just picked up my keys, turned around, and walked. But I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. Because what came next wasn't about heartbreak. It was about the truth. And the truth? It wasn't just that she cheated. It was who she cheated with. And why. The thing about walking away is that it feels powerful for about 3 minutes. You step out the door, the air hits your face, and for a second you think you're free. But then comes the weight. The unbearable silence. The echo of your own footsteps asking, "Now what?" I didn't go far. Just drove around the block twice before parking at the old train station downtown. I sat in the car, engine running, staring at the cracked windshield I'd been meaning to fix for 6 months. It was 9:17 p.m. when my phone buzzed. I didn't look. I knew it was her. I also knew I wasn't ready. Instead, I opened Instagram. Something I hadn't done in weeks. I wasn't looking for anything specific. Just trying to forget that I had walked away from my own wife with nothing but my car keys and a wallet full of receipts from a marriage that didn't mean what I thought it did. And that's when it happened. A story. Not hers. His. Troy Langston. The same Troy I once helped move apartments. The same Troy who came to our housewarming party and brought a plant we forgot to water. The same Troy who sat next to her at our anniversary dinner and made jokes about how lucky I was. His story was short. 6 seconds. A wine glass. Her laugh in the background. Not a laugh of someone caught. A comfortable laugh. Familiar. Rehearsed. Then her voice. "Babe, don't film that. I look awful." He didn't reply. Just zoomed in on the glass. But I heard him chuckle. Soft. Intimate. My blood turned to ash. Not from shock. No, shock had left hours ago. This was confirmation. The missing puzzle piece I never wanted to find but always knew was there. She wasn't just cheating. She was in love. With him. Suddenly, I saw everything differently. The inside jokes I wasn't part of. The nights she came home smelling like his cologne and said it was from hugging everyone at the client pitch. The business trips I wasn't invited to, because it's a small team thing, you wouldn't enjoy it anyway. I wanted to scream, to drive to wherever they were and demand answers. But I couldn't. Instead, I drove to my brother Milton's house. The only person who ever told me, "She's not who you think she is." I used to hate him for saying that. Now I hated myself for not listening. Milton opened the door without a word. He saw my face and just stepped aside. I collapsed on his couch and finally looked at my phone. For missed calls. 2 texts. "Alara, I'm sorry. That wasn't fair." "Alara, can we talk when you're ready?" Talk? Talk about what? That she'd made a mockery of our marriage? That she'd invited the man she was sleeping with into our home while I made her tea? That she gave me an ultimatum in front of people who probably already knew what I didn't? I put the phone face down. Then Milton said something I'll never forget. "She didn't cross a line, Lowell. She drew one, and dared you to step over it." He was right, but the worst was still ahead. Because while I was unraveling, she was preparing a narrative. One that would paint me as unstable, jealous, and, of course, dramatic. And she had help. The morning after, I woke up on Milton's couch with a stiff neck, a sour stomach, and the crushing realization that I had no home to go back to. Technically, the apartment was still mine. My name was on the lease. Half the furniture was mine. Even the stupid salt lamp she insisted on keeping by the bed mine. But emotionally, spiritually, that place now belonged to her and him. I had walked out, and in that moment, I think I gave her everything. Milton handed me a mug of coffee without a word. He's not the emotional type. He never says sorry, never hugs unless someone's died. But he sat across from me that morning like he'd known this moment would come since day one. And honestly, maybe he had. "You need to see this," he said quietly, unlocking his phone. I didn't want to see anything. Not photos, not texts, definitely not her. But he tapped his screen a few times and handed me the phone anyway. "I didn't want to believe it until now," he added. It was a screenshot, a group chat, not one I was in. The name at the top said, Vino Vixen's Wineglass Fire. Some cutesy little group Alara was in with her marketing friends. A place they shared memes and dinner plans and, apparently, details about their romantic affairs. Milton's girlfriend, Nina, had been added to the group months ago when she started working at the same co-working space. She'd muted it, forgotten about it until yesterday. Until Alara, in a moment of absolute arrogance, forgot that not everyone in the group was loyal to her. I started reading. Lila, wait, did you really tell him to stay or walk in front of everyone? Faced with tears of joy, Alara, girl, yes, I was done. He looked like a deer in headlights. All. Kate, you didn't. Alara, I did. And then he left like a sad little puppy. Troy was dying, loudly crying face. Tanya, I'm sorry, but if I had to live with that man-child, I'd throw a vase too. Alara, right? He brought me a sock and asked if I wanted it washed. A sock. There it was. My life, my breakdown, my heartbreak, turned into punchlines. Their laughing emojis hit harder than any truth ever could. And the sock. The damn sock. I'd been reduced to a punchline in a group chat of people I'd once served dinner to. I poured them wine. Let them put their feet on my coffee table. Listened to their stories. And now, I was the joke. Milton must have seen my hands shake, because he took the phone gently from me and said, You don't have to read the rest. But I did. I had to, because something inside me had finally snapped. Not in an explosive way, in a quiet, clear, irreversible kind of way. They didn't just humiliate me, they enjoyed it. And maybe worse, they expected me to take it. Because that's who I'd always been, Lowell, the peacekeeper. The sensitive one. The doormat with a heartbeat. But something was shifting. I wasn't ready to fight. Not yet. But I was no longer willing to be quiet. That same afternoon, I contacted a lawyer. Not to file for divorce. Not yet. I needed to know what my options were. What I could protect. What I could take back. Because while Alara was busy performing for her wine-soaked fan club, I was gathering the one thing she never thought I'd have again. Leverage. And what I found next changed everything. Because Alara's lies went far beyond Troy. There was someone else. Someone I knew. Someone I never would have suspected. I always thought betrayal would come with warning signs. Missed calls, suspicious texts, a locked phone maybe. I imagined it like a storm you could see on the horizon, giving you time to prepare. But that's not how it happens. It doesn't roar in like thunder. It seeps in like mold, slow, quiet, and already ruining everything by the time you notice the smell. After I read those messages in the Vino Vixens chat, I shut down. I didn't eat, didn't sleep. I stayed in Milton's guest room with the curtains drawn, letting the day pass like fog. Alara had messaged again, asking if I wanted to talk when things settled. She was trying to pivot, I could tell. Trying to repaint the scene where she humiliated me in front of friends like it was just a bad moment. A slip-up, something we could work through. But the group chat proved it was never a slip. It was a performance. And the audience? Much bigger than I thought. Milton's girlfriend, Nina, reached out privately, said she felt awful, that she hadn't known how far it went, that the girls mostly joked around in the chat and she never imagined Alara would actually throw me under the bus publicly. But then she added one sentence that made my stomach turn. She mentioned a backup plan, by the way, if Troy didn't work out. Backup plan? I thought it was a joke. But Nina wasn't smiling. She scrolled through her phone, sent me a screenshot of an earlier conversation from a few weeks back. One where Alara had written, "Troy's great but kinda chaotic. Might not last. I mean, there's always Aiden if things get weird. He's boring but safe lol." Aiden. That name sat in my brain like a virus I couldn't flush. Aiden Fields. My best man. The guy I've known since high school. The guy who gave the toast at our wedding and cried halfway through. The one who stayed late to help me paint our first apartment. Who I trusted with everything. Including Alara. Especially Alara. He was around constantly. Too constantly. He once joked he had a third key to our relationship. I thought it was harmless. Alara and Aiden clicked in a brother-sister kind of way. Or so I believed. They watched old movies together, played stupid trivia games, got into wine arguments. I always thought it was nice that my best friend and my wife got along. Now I saw it differently. My skin went cold. My mouth dry. I called Aiden. No answer. I called again. Straight to voicemail. Then I texted. I know. Don't lie. Just tell me how long it's been going on. 3 dots appeared. Then disappeared. Then silence. That silence confirmed everything I needed to know. Hours later, Milton and I were sitting in his kitchen, and he asked if I wanted to go through the rest of the Vino Vixens messages. I said no. I'd seen enough. I didn't need more details to prove what I already knew. Alara hadn't just betrayed me. She'd rehearsed it, coordinated it, and built a support group around it. And Aiden? He wasn't a victim of her manipulation. He was her contingency. My hands were trembling again. But not from heartbreak. From humiliation. They stole my trust like pickpockets, smiling the whole time. And here's the worst part. Aiden and I had plans that weekend. We were supposed to go hiking, just the two of us like we used to. Alara had even encouraged it. You two haven't had time in ages, she said. Go clear your head. Now I understood why. She wanted us out of the house so she could have Troy over. And if Troy didn't show, she had Aiden waiting in the wings. My life wasn't just falling apart. It had been planned that way. But I wasn't going to cry in a guest room anymore. I was done playing the broken husband. Because if they were going to turn my life into a stage show, then I'd write the final act myself. I didn't storm into our apartment. I didn't call Alara screaming. I didn't punch Aiden in the face or make a dramatic scene. No, that would have given them what they expected, the broken man-child melting down. The punchline from the group chat finally snapping. Instead, I played quiet, small, predictable, because that's what they always saw me as. And that's exactly how I needed them to keep seeing me. For now. I went back to the apartment on a Monday morning when I knew Alara would be at her yoga/client networking class. The place smelled like lavender and betrayal. The same ugly vase was gone, of course, replaced with some minimalist sculpture that looked like it cost too much and meant nothing. Our wedding photo was still on the bookshelf. I stared at it for a long time. The way she leaned into me, forehead resting against mine like we were some sacred secret only we understood. Lies printed in glossy finish. I moved through the apartment like a stranger, grabbed a few essentials. Socks, my external drive, the vintage camera I didn't want her to pretend she cared about. And then I did something that felt more intimate than any argument could have been. I opened the kitchen drawer, pulled out a post-it, and wrote one sentence in blue ink. I know everything, and so will everyone else soon. I stuck it inside the coffee tin, the one she used every morning without fail. I didn't want her to find it immediately. I wanted it to sit there like a landmine, waiting to ruin her morning on just some random Tuesday. That's how I'd felt. Ambushed by reality, blindsided while brushing my teeth. Next, I went to the closet and pulled down the shoebox where I kept old photos and receipts. I dug out what I came for, a USB stick. It had backups of our home security cam footage, from before she insisted we switch to a simpler, subscription-free app that she managed from her phone. I'd almost forgotten I had them, but as I scrolled through folders in Milton's office later that night, I found something I didn't expect. A clip from 2 months ago. Alara coming home with groceries. Not unusual, except Troy followed behind her. He wasn't carrying anything. He wasn't looking at the bags. He was looking at her. She reached for something in the pantry, and he stepped in behind her, arms snaking around her waist like it was the most natural thing in the world. She laughed, pressed against him, kissed his neck. Right there, in my kitchen. I watched the clip 10 times. Not because I didn't believe it, but because I needed to feel the full burn. I needed the anger to replace the numbness. I saved the footage under a new folder, Truth, and then I emailed it to myself. Twice. Different accounts. I wasn't going to lose it. Not this time. Milton walked in as I sat there, staring at the paused video. You really gonna go through with it? He asked. I nodded. I'm done playing nice. He looked at me for a long time. Then he said, good. She's not the only one who knows how to perform. The plan came together faster than I expected. I wasn't out for revenge. I wasn't gonna go scorched earth or ruin lives. I just wanted clarity. For everyone. For her friends. For her clients. For the people who toasted us at parties and reposted our anniversary photos with heart emojis. The next event on her calendar was her brand's networking mixer, a rooftop wine and design thing. All her clients, coworkers, and collaborators would be there. She'd spent weeks planning it. Sent out digital invites with her signature colors and logo. I RSVP'd anonymously. Created a burner email with a fake name. Easy. All I had to do was wait. Because the next time she stood in front of a crowd pretending to be the woman she branded herself as, I was going to change the entire narrative. Not by yelling, not by accusing, but by simply letting the truth speak louder than her charm. The night of the mixer arrived like a slow-building storm, calm on the surface, but electric underneath. I sat in my car 2 blocks away, watching the skyline glow gold as the sun dipped behind the buildings. Alara had chosen the venue herself, of course. The rooftop of a boutique hotel downtown with string lights, soft jazz, and just enough pretentiousness to make everyone feel important. It was her element, her kingdom, her stage. I didn't walk in dressed for drama. No black hoodie or dark sunglasses like some bad movie cliché. I wore a gray button-down, slacks, and the same quiet look people always expected from me. That was my superpower now, invisibility. None of her circle noticed me. They weren't used to looking at me only through me. The place was packed. Designers, influencers, startup CEOs. Everyone drinking overpriced wine and nodding too hard at things that didn't matter. I kept my head down and my voice quiet. My only goal was to get the flash drive to the AV tech without raising suspicion. Took 5 minutes. I approached the guy setting up the presentation screen, handed him a USB labeled Alara branding real_final, and told him she wanted it played right before her speech. He didn't ask questions, just nodded and slipped it into the back of the laptop. I disappeared into the crowd and waited. Alara walked in 20 minutes later like she was floating. She wore an ivory blazer and gold earrings shaped like leaves. Her smile was so bright it could have lit a power outage. She kissed cheeks, waved at cameras, clinked glasses. She had no idea that inside her carefully curated event, a bomb was quietly ticking. When the lights dimmed and the music faded, a hush fell over the rooftop. A spotlight snapped on, and Alara stepped up to the mic. People leaned in. Phones went up. She looked right at home. "Thank you all for coming," she began, her voice smooth and practiced. "This brand isn't just my business. It's my heart. It's about building trust, integrity, and bold storytelling." That's when the screen behind her flickered. She kept talking, unaware, until the screen turned black and a single video file loaded. Titled, "How the Story Really Looks." She froze. Everyone turned. The video began with soft static, and then the image of her walking into our kitchen, setting down grocery bags. Then Troy entering behind her, his arms around her waist. Her laugh, the kiss, played for 34 seconds. No music, no cuts, just raw, silent proof. Gasps echoed across the rooftop. One woman covered her mouth. A man muttered, "Is that?" Someone else dropped a glass. Alara stood frozen in front of the mic like a statue, her face drained of all color. She turned slowly, saw the footage, then turned back to the crowd. But it was too late. The truth had spoken. She fumbled for the mic. "That's not. It's taken out of context. It's not what it looks like." But the damage was done. Context didn't matter. She had spent years building a brand around authenticity and loyalty. And now her real story had been projected in front of the very people who bought into it. The AV tech looked panicked. He pulled the USB out and the screen went dark again. But the silence didn't leave. People were already whispering, looking at each other. Phones buzzed. Alara tried to smile, tried to recover. But you can't unsee betrayal. I didn't stay for the end. I didn't need to. As I walked back down the staircase, I could hear her voice cracking behind me, trying to pivot, trying to regain control. But there are some spotlights you never step out of. Some shadows that don't leave. Outside, I breathed for the first time in days. I didn't feel victorious. This wasn't revenge. It wasn't justice. But it was clarity. The truth wasn't a weapon. It was a mirror. And she finally had to look at it. But I wasn't done yet. Because as I'd learned the next day, someone in the crowd that night had filmed the whole thing and posted it online. By sunrise, the internet had already decided who Alara was. And it wasn't the woman she built her brand around. It wasn't the curated, champagne-sipping, female founder inspirational speaker she pretended to be. No, that version of her evaporated the second someone uploaded the rooftop footage with the caption, "Branding Queen exposes her own affair at her launch party skull." It took 12 hours to reach 100,000 views. By noon, the hashtags were trending. Hashtag Alara Unfiltered. Hashtag Coffee Tin Confession. Even hashtag Troy Tuesday somehow caught on. And just like that, the woman who built an empire on aesthetics and slogans became the center of a different kind of story, one she didn't control. I watched it unfold from Milton's couch, a bowl of cereal slowly turning soggy in my lap. I didn't feel proud. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt numb, like I had witnessed a building collapse from a distance, knowing I used to live there. My phone buzzed nonstop. Unknown numbers. Emails from journalists. 3 voicemails from people I hadn't spoken to in years, all offering condolences or fishing for details. Everyone wanted the real story. But none of them cared how it felt to be erased by someone you loved. Alara texted once. "Alara, we need to talk. Please, just us." I didn't answer. That night, Milton brought in Chinese takeout and sat beside me like a bodyguard. Neither of us talked for a while. Then he said, "You know what hurts the most about betrayal? It's not just the act. It's that they rehearsed it, smiled through it, let you love them while already planning your replacement." That hit me harder than the video ever could. Because it was true. Alara hadn't just cheated. She'd managed me, treated me like a placeholder while she tested her options. And I fed it. I made it easy. I believed the small lies. I explained away the empty affection. I told myself that love was supposed to ebb and flow, not realizing she had already jumped ship. The next day, I got a message that made my hands go cold. Not from her. From Aiden. Aiden? I didn't know she was recording us. I swear I didn't mean for this to happen. That one sentence nearly broke me again, because it meant more happened than I even realized. More nights, more secrets, more people who had quietly watched my life unravel and said nothing. I called him. He answered with a shaky, "Lowell." I didn't let him speak. "You were my brother," I said. "You held the rings at my wedding. You toasted to my forever. And the whole time you were waiting for my turn to end." He started to cry. I hung up. I didn't need his tears. I needed my self-respect back. But somewhere in the mess, something strange happened. People, strangers, began messaging me. Not with gossip or mockery, but with gratitude. Men and women both. People who had been cheated on, lied to, made to feel invisible. They said watching the rooftop video felt like watching someone finally win without screaming, without violence, without cruelty. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something unfamiliar. Not rage, not shame. Power. Not over her. Over me. Over my next move. Over the life I still had, the life I was finally ready to rebuild. But Alara wasn't finished. Because when I opened my email the next morning, I saw a calendar invite. Subject: final conversation. Location: our apartment. Time: tonight at 7 p.m. No message. No explanation. Just one last move in a game I never wanted to play. At 6:58 p.m., I stood outside the apartment door for what felt like the last time. I could hear the hum of the fridge inside, the faint buzz of the city behind me, and my own heart pounding like it wasn't sure what I was about to do. I didn't bring flowers. I didn't bring anger. I brought silence. A quiet resolve that had been building ever since I walked away from her in front of that rooftop crowd. I knocked once. She opened immediately, like she'd been waiting. Alara looked smaller than I remembered. Not physically, just deflated. Her eyes were puffy. She wore a sweatshirt, mine I think, and held a glass of water she clearly didn't want. "Hi," she said, like we were meeting for the first time again. "Hi," I replied. I walked in. The place looked untouched, like she hadn't dared rearrange anything since I left. A frozen version of the life we used to have. She gestured to the couch. "Can we talk?" I didn't sit. "You asked for this meeting, so talk." She nodded, took a breath. "I messed up. I know you don't owe me anything, but I wanted you to hear it from me. No spin, no excuses." I said nothing. She went on. "I never planned for it to get that far. I thought I could fix things between us while still figuring myself out. But that was wrong. Cruel, even. You didn't deserve to be dragged along while I tried to feel important in someone else's arms." I finally spoke. "I didn't need you to be perfect. I needed you to be honest." She looked down. "I know. I didn't know how to be. With you, I felt like I was always pretending to be a better person than I actually was. And eventually, I got tired of pretending." Those words should have shattered me. Instead, they freed me. Because for the first time, I realized the truth. I had spent so long trying to hold her up that I never noticed she was pulling me down. I didn't lose a partner, I shed a weight. "I'm not here to hate you," I told her. "I'm here to say goodbye. Not just to you, but to the version of me that let this happen for so long." Her eyes filled with tears. She nodded, accepting it. No begging. No drama. Just an ending. I grabbed the last of my things. A watch, a photo of my parents, the dumb coffee mug with the dinosaur on it, and headed for the door. She called after me one last time. "Lowell, I hope you find someone who makes you feel like more than just safe." I turned and smiled. Just a little. "I already have. Me." And then I left. No more notes. No more messages. No more looking back. These days I'm still rebuilding. But it's my life now. I started teaching photography at the community center. I adopted a senior dog named Edgar. I laugh more. I breathe better. And when people ask me what happened, I don't tell them I got cheated on. I tell them I finally walked out of a room I didn't belong in and shut the door with my own hands. If the story hit close to home, let us know in the comments. Have you ever discovered something shocking that changed the way you saw someone forever? Share your story below, you never know who might need to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe to Reddit Confessions, where every story is raw and just might change the way you see the world.